Greetings in the name of Yeshua. Shalom to all of our Jewish friends and followers. Today I want to speak to how the Lord is working in our lives and the mission that we have going in Kenya, how He's working and the advances that have been made over the last month. One of the things that the goal of the mission is to be my goal, Lord willing, for the mission is to make it totally independent so that it will have enough chickens to deal with. It will have goats to deal with. It will grow seed for gardens. And in doing this, establish itself that there will be ways for it to generate revenue. And initially what we're planning and have already started putting into place, we have the incubator for 352 eggs now. It's in progress right now. I think it's about day 3 or day 4. It started Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, day 5, day 6. Day 6 into the incubation of the chicks, and it takes 21 days. At the end of the 21 days, there will be about 3 days or 4 days for vaccination of the chicks, and then we will start distributing to the widows who've been vetted and are waiting for their 10-chick flock. Today, October the 8th, it's October 9th now, it's 3 o'clock in the morning here, Mountain Standard Time. But October 8th was a busy day for the network. We bought a ram and an ewe, and I believe a couple of ducks, which is the first stages of creating a flock of goats. The ducks are for production of eggs that we can incubate and create a flock for revenue purposes. The revenue generated from that will go in buying additional chicks, eggs for chicks, mash for the chicks. There will be different things. The goat, the ram, we will be using for impregnating the goats before they go out to the widows, so that there's a production for them. It's not just giving them a goat. The goat's going to be pregnant with a kid or kids. From what I understand, they drop more than one in most cases. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create a situation where the network is not dependent on donations. Certainly we will continue asking for donations to continue increasing programs within the network to generate revenue for the widows. Eventually, I've got it in prayer. Eventually, we will work at creating revenue, or not revenue, but creating a situation where we will be able to vet those who are looking and caring after orphans. Now that's down the road, and we're hoping that in our independence we will have the ability to create what it's going to take in order for us to be able to set up gardens for some of these orphanages so that they can feed these children. There's one of the biggest movements for the network is to overcome all of the corruption, or as much corruption as we possibly can. Doing that means working with a number of different widows, helping those that are poor and destitute. Now, we understand and know that we're never going to eliminate poverty or the poor. Our goal is to eliminate poverty. And attain, what we're attempting to achieve is to take individuals who are suffering in poverty, remove them from poverty, put them into a situation where they have a better opportunity and hope and can be more comfortable in the role of being poor. We know that they're never going to come out of it, but at the same time, they don't have to suffer. In doing so, we're eliminating all of the fallacies that a lot of these corrupt individuals are using the poor as fronts to create revenue for themselves. I was sent a couple of pictures. Horrible. And this is what they were these individuals are presenting these pictures to the public and asking for help. One of the other schemes and scams that they're using is they'll present themselves as a pastor and that they've started a church and they're looking for Bibles and they're looking for people to purchase these Bibles for them. Now, what I'm doing, and anyone who's listening, and if they're approached, there's a site that you can give them, and I will post it in an article within Trumpeter's Call so that people can copy the link and pass it on to anyone who is basically soliciting them for Bibles. Now, this organization gives out free Bibles, and they've given over 1 million Bibles throughout the world. And I have referred these individuals to this organization, and very quickly they disappear because all they're doing is they're using it as a front for the money. I had one approach me, and he even had the name of the store and the individual that I was supposed to send the money to that was supposedly his finance officer for his church. He gave me the name of the bookstore, how much I was supposed to spend, $625 for 47 Bibles in this particular translation. I sent him a copy of the link, never heard another word from him. These are the fronts that a lot of these individuals are using, and this is what we're breaking down, is we're breaking it down so that people are understanding. They're starting to recognize, the Kenyan people are starting to recognize there is a light that has come into their country. And that light is represented by the Lord helping those who are the least within the assembly. As a watchman, my job is to send messages. The message that this mission is sending out to the world, the global assemblies, is that they've been neglecting the very least in their ecclesia. And that in doing so, they have created a situation where individuals have become trapped in poverty. I've had people ask me, well, why are you in Kenya? I gave you an example in the opening statement that these individuals who are using poverty as a front in order to create revenue for their pocket have created also a situation where the world no longer trusts giving money to help. They've been scammed too many times. The other thing is that not only that, it has created a situation of corruption within Kenya itself. The young people, you'll see them online on their Facebook biography saying they're self-employed. Then when you talk to them, oh, they become a pastor. Or, oh no, they have a group of 20 or 25 children that they're looking after as orphans. Or, I've just founded a church and I'm pastoring these individuals within the church, and we need Bibles. And we need desks, we need tables, we need all different kinds of situations where they have a necessary need that is a cash cow for them. It has even gone to the point where they're creating Bible schools and they're soliciting funds and material from North America, and people are falling for it. Now, the situation that we're here, we're not trying to be superheroes, but the Lord is working with us on this basis. On August the 13th, I founded this network. It's called The Network. The Lord showed me what I need to do is organize a network of God-fearing individuals, male and female, pastors, bishops. At the time, I wasn't aware that there were 47 counties, but the gentleman that the Lord led me to pair with is a godsend. His name is Bishop Evans Makwa. And the Lord touched his heart basically similarly with the same mission at the same time. And we connected. And within 3 days, we were already planting. We had raised funds. I put out an appeal, and we raised funds for a garden for a widow. And the bishop had made me aware of her despair. And I put out an appeal, and we got the funds, and we got her a garden. And it was planted. It changed her life. From being in despair to recognizing that she had food for herself and her grandchild, or was going to have food for herself and her grandchild, she became an entrepreneurial individual. Now, the majority of these widows are not highly educated, but they're life and street smart. They know how to survive. This woman became entrepreneurial. And in doing so, she went out and started gathering firewood and started selling it to create additional revenue for herself. And that was the beginning. From there, we have been praying and asking, and people have been supporting us. And what it is basically is that the Lord is showing me how to encourage these individuals to become independent. How, do you say? By giving them tools. And the tools are as such. We will be leasing an acre of land to create 2 different crops of seeds for the gardens that we will be doing for widows. Now, the calculations that I was doing when we were planning this is that out of 1 acre, we can create 2,700 kilograms of seed. That 2,700 kilograms, it takes 25 kilograms to plant a garden, a 1 acre garden. Normally, we would spend between $35 and $50 to plant that garden. Having not the expenditure, that cuts back. Our only expense now would be fertilizer, because we're going to be supplying the seed ourselves. But the figure that I would come up with was, in a growing season, we will be able to grow enough seed to do 120 widows, a garden for 120 widows. Now, I wasn't aware, but I was made aware through the bishop that there's a second growing season from September to December. So we would take that second growing season and create another 2,700 kilograms of seed, which means we would be able to help another 120 widows. However, at the end of that growing season, we would have to store the seed until the next growing season, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that, because we will take some of that seed for our own replanting of the first crop over the next season. Now, we went into additional, and I'm saying that we were blessed that we were able to purchase an incubator that will do 352 eggs, chickens. Those 352 eggs will assist a group of about 30 to 35 widows every 24 days. The eggs hatch out 21 days. We take 3 days to inoculate. It's called inoculate, or vaccinate, that's what it's called. Vaccinate the chicks. It's a pad that you put down and they wander over and they pick up a vaccine that prevents them from being diseased. Then in that cycle, we're able to help anywhere from 30 to 35 widows with a flock of 10 chicks. The thing is that what we're encouraging these widows to do, and we're looking and hoping that within those chicks there will be roosters. And of course, chickens lay eggs, and we want them to be fertilized, and we want them to let the birds do a natural hatching, and it increases their flock. People say, well, how are they going to sustain themselves? Well, the chickens lay eggs, they have eggs. Now, here's the thing, is that they will have an abundance of eggs that they can sell for revenue generating. But this is what it basically comes down to. It goes back to the first widow that we worked with. She saw hope, and in that hope, she became entrepreneurial. And we know that this is the normal reaction for these individuals. There was a group that is affiliated with the network, sponsored a garden for a young woman, and she set herself up, got her garden going, and she's now selling vegetables in the market for revenue. She's generating enough revenue to look after herself, her family, with clothing, schooling, and of course now she has enough to regenerate her garden so that she has an ongoing vegetable source. That's what I'm talking about. We're not just giving these women a garden. We're not just giving them, we're giving them hope. We're opening up a door for them. The cause is not to just hand something out. It's to restore. One of the side effects of all of this, and the word spread very quickly about what we were doing and how we're doing it. I think approximately we have now, I think it's close to 13 or 14 out of the 47 counties covered with a godly individual. Now, people are saying, well, how do you know you can trust these individuals? Because they're vetted. We vet them. We check them out. And it's a very strong, stern vetting. It's not an easy one. They have to prove certification of ordination. The church has to have a certificate of operation by the government and be certified. If the church has an affiliation in North America, many of these churches here in Kenya have a founding and a foundation based in North America. Not that we're asking for that foundation to support them, but what we ask for is credibility. And what it does is that it certifies the church, and we know that in that certification, we then go to an elder. We also go to, a deacon, and we verify the pastor, or we verify the bishop. And what it basically comes down to is we know the individual that we're dealing with. Now, we're not taking any more than one individual per county. And what the idea is that when we get a request from that particular county, that individual who's been vetted by the network will go and vet the widow so that we know the need is absolute. It is necessary because we see it firsthand through the eyes of the individual who is working with us. Any monies or any seed or whatever production is going to go to this individual for the project goes through that pastor or bishop. It's done on the basis of accomplishment. We use it to allow the public to know what we're doing. In Kenya, fundraising is done for funerals. The belief is they help the dead, they help the family of the dead bury, but the living can look after themselves. Now, we're not going to change customs, but what we're doing is that we're starting a fundraiser campaign, but our motto is the network is burying poverty here. And that will be on a sign. We have a specific logo made up, and we're having the signs printed out so that we can display them on the gardens, or we can display them on the residence of where the widow is living, so the public can see that this individual has been helped. We're hoping that they will fundraise as well, but the idea is more for the compassion of individuals to know what the network is doing. Then where we're going with this now, the Lord now has provided us with funds to purchase a ram and a ewe for breeding purposes. The other thing with the ram is, like I said, we're going to put out the word that the ram is there for servicing of any others, but we will charge a fee, a stud fee. But at the same time, if we have the opportunity, we're going to try and increase our own herd, so that when we're supplying a widow with a goat, that goat is going to be bred before it leaves. So that the widow is going to be getting a bonus when she gets the goat, but at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, that goat is going to give her a kid, or maybe 2 or 3. Sometimes, apparently from what I understand, they have multiple births. What that does is that it increases the opportunity for the widow to have revenue, because the market for goats is good here in Kenya. But it also allows us, the network, to purchase these goats from the revenue, or from the widow, for her to gain revenue from it. So that when we purchase from her, we will then have a second goat, a second ram, for breeding purposes as well. And we will then produce those goats that we're purchasing from the widow will be bred and brought to another widow. And it creates a chain where we continue to increase the herd within all of the widows. But it also is a revenue generator for the widow as well as for the network. These ideas are all God-led. The chickens, the goats, the garden. Like I said, we will plant a garden and create our own seed. All of this is making the network independent. The figures that I came up with, the machine, the incubator, the lifespan is for 20 years. Now, the calculation with maximum, there's going to be in between here and there. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but these were the figures that we brought up. In a month, we will be able to help upwards of 50 individuals, 50 widows with chickens. That's two hatchings, which is 40, actually it's a month and a half. It's about 44 days, 48 days. So what it basically comes down to is within that period of time, we'll be able to help 50 widows, and there will be another hatching. And every 24 days, there will be a hatching. And one of the things that I recognize over a period of time in a year, we will be able to help approximately 600 widows with flocks of chickens, 10 chicks. In a period of 20 years, the lifespan of that machine, we will be able to help 11,900 widows. Now that's over and above the ones with the goats, the ones with the chickens, okay, and as well the gardens. So what we're doing is we're giving an opportunity to a number of women to get themselves out of poverty. We know they're still going to be poor, but at the same time they're going to be comfortable because now they're going to have self-esteem, self-value, but more than anything, creating hope. Hope for the future. Knowledge that their prayers and their pleas were answered. In doing so, in helping this number of individuals within the country, we know that the light of the Lord is going to spread. And that will take away the poverty, but as well the corruption. Because now you've got a group of individuals who are working to help individuals, help these women change their lives. When the network is completely independent, we will then take a serious look at helping orphans. Because there is a problem in this country with orphans. And that was brought about by an AIDS epidemic that a number of years ago went through this country and killed a lot of the parents. So these young people, these children, are left now as orphans. And understand when I was saying about the fundraisers, one of the things, the mentality here in Kenya is the living can look after themselves. So we have to come up with a situation where we're able to vet and maintain and know that the need for these young people are real. Because like I said, that section of poverty has been utilized by the scammers to create revenue for themselves. One of the areas that the network would be able to assist any that are really true initially would be with a garden for them to sustain food for the number of children that are with them. The other possibility would be to create a flock of birds for them, flock of chickens, and maybe possibly a goat or two. That depends. But that's in the future. Right now, what we're doing is we're establishing the network in order to be able to help widows. The first group of 30 widows to be helped is on the way. The eggs are in the incubator. And like I said, they're in there 6 to 7 days now. It takes 21, 3 weeks, for the eggs to hatch. Once we get rolling with that, we will do another production of eggs, another 352 eggs, and then in the second hatching. And we will move for every 24 days, we will do a hatching. And we know that there's need and it will be fulfilled. It's the beginning. We need help. We need your contributions. You can send a contribution if you desire to assist and be a part of this. You can, in Canada, you can send it through e-transfer, and it's 780-497-0612. It's a direct deposit. To verify, you will need an email. That email is Rombough, ROMBOUGH, Robert, @hotmail.com. The other method that you can do, and I have individuals already doing this, you can mail a check to us. The address is 17251 92 Avenue, Northwest, Edmonton, Alberta, T5T 3K7 is the postal code. The next method you could utilize outside of Canada is Western Union. And you can send it to contribution, you can send it to Robert James Rombouch, ROMBOUGH. The funds will come to us and we will then distribute them accordingly. If you need the address, you can utilize the same address that I gave you for mailing. Same thing for email is the email that is used for verification with e-transfer. The third or fourth method of getting to us, contribution to us, is PayPal. And the address you send it to at Robert Rombouch, ROMBOUGH. That's at Robert Rombouch. All of these are connected directly to specific funds or accounts that we will then incorporate it all, and then we start using it for the major projects that we have planned and any future projects that are going to go forward. At the moment, the growing season is at a standstill. It's too late to plant a garden for it to mature for harvesting. So what we're doing is we're planning the next harvest, or the next planting season. We will have our garden, a 1 acre plot, and we will start growing our own seed and going from there. Whatever we can put in abeyance for seed that we can purchase until our garden creates the seed, the first crop. We do want to get the gardens going for the widows, and it takes $50 American for each garden that we're producing. That's seed and fertilizer. At the same time, you have to understand that when we create our own seed, we still have to supply fertilizer. That takes monetary assistance. So we're hoping and praying that you will understand every dollar that we receive goes into the project. We don't take any administration fees. The only fees that are paid out of that money would be for transfer. And that is minimal. We try to keep it as minimal as we possibly can so that we can utilize every cent that we get in order to create a situation of change in the life of the widows that we're working with. I thank you for your time in listening. If you have any questions, you can contact me at the number that I gave for the e-transfer, 780-497-0612. Just ask for Robert. I monitor my phone 24 hours a day. If I don't answer, leave a message, I will get back to you. If any questions, please phone. If you have doubt and fear of fraud, please understand we're working with all of the individuals that we have vetted are God-fearing men. Anything that we receive, we know we are confident that these individuals make every penny count for the widow so that they can get benefit from it. We take nothing, they volunteer. So I pray and give thanks to all for listening and taking the time to understand what our project and mission is. I will do some updates. We've had some successes. Like I said, right now, what we're doing is we're waiting for the hatch to happen so that we can get a flocks of chickens to these individuals, get them started. I pray and give thanks in the name of Yeshua for your time and for your thoughtfulness and consideration, and thank you for your contributions.